Right. We are talking about rational exponents and radical functions. Today, it's mainly radical functions. We have to split this up into 2 days. And then on Wednesday, we go back to doing logs. Okay. So first off, can you guys please tell me how I get 8 to the 2/3 to equal something root? 8 to the 2/3 to equal something root. Do you remember what?
The numerator goes to the exponent, and then the denominator is the root.
Yeah, that denominator goes, I could even say it goes down to the root, whichever direction you want. Which means I have the cubed root of 8 squared. Cubed root of 64. The cubed root of 64, what times what times what makes 64?
4.
Yep, 4. So I had this seemingly difficult 8 to the 2/3, and now all of a sudden it's easy and the answer is 4. Nice, huh? Okay, so let me press pause for a second, sorry. Let's get started. Okay. Describe and correct the error a student made in rewriting the equation to isolate y. I'm sorry, we need to skip that one. Due to time, we gotta move on to example 1, sorry. The formula is, okay, ready? Velocity equals the square root of 2 times the acceleration times feet. G is acceleration. S is distance in feet. Okay, so I got to get rid of the square root. Today, we're focusing on how do you get rid of the square root. Solve the formula for S is my first job. I got to get rid of the square root. How do I get rid of a square root? Someone new?
Square both sides.
Square both sides. Squared, squared. That gives me v squared equals 2gs. Solve for S. Solving for S means getting rid of 2g. They're all multiplied, 2 times g times s. So I divide both sides by 2g. Now, what does this direction say? Find S for a falling object with a velocity of 32 grams. Velocity of 32 grams. Plug it in, plug it in. Velocity of 32 in my numerator squared over 2g. Now it was 32 grams. So I actually need to put the g there. Now, numerator is 32g, so I have to square it, 32 squared and g squared, okay? 1024 g squared divided by 2g. Simplify, 512. Now g squared over g just gives me a g as my distance. S. They said distance was S. So 512 g is my distance. And the acceleration is we don't know. That's okay. We're just practicing simplifying. On example 2, we're doing the exact same thing. We're practicing simplifying, and then we're going to put it into practice. Escape velocity is the velocity at which an object must be traveling to leave a star or planet without falling back to its surface or into orbit. Escape velocity v depends on the gravitational constant g and the mass m and the radius r of the star or planet. Okay, so first I write out my equation. Rewrite the equation to solve for mass, because mass is the capital M. So once again, I've got this square root that I got to get rid of, and then I have the r that I got to get rid of, and then I have the 2g that I got to get rid of. There's a lot. But the same as above. I'm going to square both sides so that I get v, and I need to really write this a little bit. V squared equals, because I'm squaring both sides. On the right, the square root and the squared cancel each other out. Divided by r. Okay. I got to get rid of r, and then I got to get rid of 2g. So r v squared r equals 2gm. I'm still trying to solve for mass, so I got to get rid of 2g. They're all multiplied. 2 times g times m. Okay. V squared r divided by 2g equals m. So I've solved for mass, which is what I was asked to do. Okay. All right. Now we can actually look at what a picture I've got going. So this is the velocity an object must travel without falling back into surface or back into orbit. So this 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11 scientific notation is the gravitational constant. So I'm on part B now. So I'm going to do, let's see, the escape velocity, that's V, equals 11,200 meters. The radius is 6,371,000. And my gravitational constant, G, is 6.67 times 10 to the negative 11th. Okay, I'm going to use my formula, V squared R times 2G, and I'm going to plug everything in and figure out the mass of Earth. How heavy is Earth? Earth's mass. Here we go. Mass equals velocity squared, 11,200 squared, times my radius, 6,371,000. Okay. Divided by 2 times my gravitational constant. 6.67 scientific notation times 10 to the negative 11th. Okay. And I'll just tell you the answer because it's no fun to put that into the calculator. The mass of Earth is approximately 5.99 times 10 to the 24th. I write it in scientific notation, obviously, because to the 24th power means that I would have to move this decimal over 24 spaces. We all know scientific notation. We've done it before. All right, all I'm going to be able to get through on the next page is about 1 through 7. 8 is going to be your homework. And I assigned, you already see it. It's already up there on Pearson. So number 8 is one that you're going to do for homework. It's tricky. It's just like number 6. So I'm going to do 6 to model it for you, but it's just a long problem. Let's start out easy, okay? Here's the task for today. I'm trying to solve for X, right? If there's an equal sign and there's an X, your job is to solve for X. Step 1, isolate the square root, okay? So I'm going to isolate the square root. And then step 2 is going to be square both sides. And when I square both sides, I obviously solve for X. Square both sides and solve for X. Check your answers, which means check for extraneous solutions. Check for extraneous solutions. Okay. I'm squaring both sides, I'm solving for X, and then I'm going to check for extraneous solutions. Okay. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to skip, what did I say to see? I'm going to skip number 4, but the rest I'm pretty sure I have time to do. Where are we? Kind of. I kind of have time. All right. Isolate the square root. Number 1, add 1. The square root of 3x equals 9. Square both sides. 3x equals 81. X equals 27. Now I have to do the check. Does 3 times 27 minus 1 equal 8? Does the square root of 81 minus 1 equal 8? The square root of 81 is a perfect square. 9 minus 1 equals 8. Yes. So my answer really is X equals 27. Okay, number 2. Minus 5. Negative the square root of x plus 3 equals 6. There's still a negative in front. I don't like that. So I'm going to get rid of the negative by dividing both sides by -1. Oh, whoa, whoa. 6 minus 5, my friends, is 1. Man. Square both sides. X plus 3 equals 1. Minus 3 both sides. X equals negative 2. Check it. Okay. If I think that negative 2 is a solution, I need to plug it back in for X. 5 minus the square root of negative 2 plus 3, does that equal 6? 5 minus the square root of 1 equals 6. Does 5 minus 1 equal 6? No. Do you have any questions so far on number 1 and 2, you guys? Are you alive? Are you there? Okay. Yes, no. Anyways, since 4 does not equal 6, and I only had one choice of an answer, there's no solution to this problem. On number 3, it's a cube root, but you first have to subtract 2 both sides. So I have to cube both sides to cancel. X minus 5 equals 125. Solve for X. X equals 130. So check it. It's a Beastie Boys song. You guys even know who they are? Check it. Never mind. 130 minus 5 plus 2 equals 7. So 130 minus 5 is 125 plus 2 equals 7. 5 plus 2 equals 7. Yes! Yay! Good job. I'm going to, well, number 5 is easy. I'm just going to quickly talk about it. You square both sides, which means both of them come out of the square root. And you solve, and you get X equals, and you can figure it out. So I want to do number 6 with you. Okay. Because number 6 takes time and it's worth going over. Number 6 and number 8 are very similar, which means since you're doing number 8 for homework, you definitely need to know how to do number 6. All right. I'm going to move that over. 4x plus 1 equals 3 plus x minus 2. I need a square root on each side because when I square both sides, that means that I need to have the square roots somewhat go away. The problem that I face here is that I've now got a binomial, right? So I've got this binomial, and obviously on the left, this 4x plus 1 is fine. It just comes out of the square root. But this 3 plus square root of x minus 2, that's squared. I need to basically write it twice and FOIL it. I got to stay organized. So I'm going to write it twice and FOIL. First is 3 times 3. That makes 9. Outside, inside. Outside, inside is 3 times the square root of x minus 2 plus 3 times the square root of x minus 2, which is 6 square root of x minus 2. Now, last, square root of x minus 2 times square root of x minus 2. Square root of x minus 2 squared, which means the square root and the squared cancel each other out, plus x minus 2. So, like terms, on the right side, let's simplify this out. Let's get rid of the x first, because I know that it can subtract the 4x. Now I have 9 plus 6 rad x, not 9 minus 2, 7. Subtract 7. 3x minus 6 equals 6 square root x minus 2. Three x minus 6 equals 6 times the square root of x minus 2. Okay. Question so far. Would you have been able to do this? It's a lot of algebra, making sure that you keep your work organized and that you FOIL correctly, right? Now, the 3x minus 6 equals 6 times square root of x minus 2. They need to be squared, both sides. Here's what I got. 3x squared, 3x minus 6 squared. 9x squared minus 36x plus 36 equals 6 has to be squared and the x minus 2 has to be squared. 36 parentheses x minus 2, because it's out of the square root now, because I squared it, so it's out of the square root. The x minus 2 comes out of the square root because I squared it. Well, that's 36x minus 72, right? (9x squared minus 36x plus 36 equals 36x minus 72. Move the 36x over. Add the 72 to both sides. I mean, let's get all of the terms to the left-hand side so that I can factor. Okay, the only term that's squared is 9x squared. Negative 36 and negative 36. Ooh, sorry, I'll go faster. Time is ticking, guys. 36 plus 72 is 108. This is what you're going to have to do on number 8. 9x squared minus 72x plus 108 has a GCF. It's 9. X squared minus 8x plus 12. equals 0. And factor x minus 2, x minus 6. Well, set everything equals 0 and solve. And yes, they both work. Okay. So, that's a lot, I know. Okay. We're not responsible for doing number 7. Don't worry about it. But your homework tonight, let's do number 8 on this worksheet. And then I gave you 6 problems on Pearson. Okay. And that's already been assigned to you. What questions do you have? Let me ask again. What questions do you have? Okay. All right. Well, I can stop the recording.